This case and many before it is the reason why I never run or walk in a park alone. Imagine putting on your workout clothes, lacing up your shoes, and saying bye to your friends. You'll see them in a few minutes. You're about to go for your morning run, something you've done hundreds of times before. But on this day, you didn't know that not only would you not return as promised, you would never see your friends or family again. This is truly a horrific case. Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Zara, and on this channel, we talk about true crime. So if you're interested, please join the fam, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button too. It really helps out the channel, guys. And also share this video if you like, especially to any woman that you know that runs or walks or exercises alone. Laken Hope Riley was born in Marietta, Georgia to her parents, Allison Phillips and William Jason Riley, on January 10th, 2002. She grew up with her sister Kaylee and brother Jackson before her parents eventually divorced. Her mother Allison remarried a man named John and went on to have another daughter called Lauren. Even though Laken's parents were divorced while the kids were young, the family was still very tight-knit and very close. Laken was special. She was known to be a smart, kind, compassionate, thoughtful girl who was a loving sister and daughter and friend. Everyone that knew Laken said she had this gift of making you feel seen and comfortable and special. She cared a lot about others, and this led to her pursuing her love of nursing. She grew up in Woodstock and graduated from River Ridge High School in 2020, where she did well in cross country and track. She always loved to learn. Her parents said she was a study bug growing up and was driven and a hard worker. After high school, she attended the University of Georgia and then later began a nursing program at the Augusta Medical College campus in Athens, and was due to graduate this year in 2025. Laken was also a member of the Alpha Chi Omega sorority at the University of Georgia, and in her spare time, she worked as a nanny for 2 young kids. She was passionate about running and completed a half marathon in October of 2023. Laken dreamed of one day working with kids. She was full of life and had these big goals and dreams. Her smile was extremely infectious, and she spread joys to others everywhere she went. Laken was also devoted to serving the Lord. She was always involved with the Woodstock City Church and Watkinsville First Baptist Church. She was passionate about spreading God's word and attended mission trips to Honduras through the church. On top of everything she did, Laken also managed to make the dean's list in college. She was guided by her Christian faith and devoted to living a faithful Christian life. She wrote a letter to her future husband, which said, "I pray God is the center of our relationship as it is a gift from him. I thank him for you before I even know you, and I can't wait to love you in the best way I know how for the rest of our lives." You can kind of tell what type of person and young woman Laken is already from what I've mentioned. You can kind of get the vibe that she was truly a very genuine, kind, hopeful woman. I mean, many young people can be lazy, self-centered, especially in this social media age, but not Laken. I mean, if my daughter turns out to be as driven, caring, kind, and successful as Laken was, I'll know I did something right. 22-year-old Laken lived at the University of Georgia campus dorms with her 3 roommates, Lily, Connolly, and Sophia. The 4 girls were more than just roommates. They were really like a family. They did everything together, family dinners, movie nights. They were all really good friends and very close. Something that was incredibly smart is that the girls would share each other's location at all times through iPhone's Find My Friends app. And they did this a lot with a lot of their friends, just for their own safety, as the girls lived in a dorm alone away from their families. Like I said, Laken loved running and she was very good at it and would often run with Connolly, her roommate, and sometimes with some other friends. And they would run on the trail close to their home at Oconee Forest Park. And many times they ended their runs at a dock in Lake Herrick to talk, play music, or just hang out. On the morning of Thursday, February 22nd, 2024, the day started like any other, as it always does, and Sophia was taking an exam and Connolly was in a class. Lily had errands to run and left the home early, and Laken was at home and decided to just go for her morning run by herself. At around 8:55 a.m., Laken texted her mother, Allison, "Good morning, about to go for a run if you're free to talk." At 9:03, she then tried to call her mother, but then when she didn't answer, Laken grabbed her AirPods, put them on, and started listening to music on her iPhone. With her iPhone in her left hand, Laken began her run towards the intramural fields. She is seen running on the trail by CCTV cameras, but runs out of the camera view at 9:06 a.m. At 9:24 a.m., her mother, Allison, called Laken back, but since Laken was running, she assumed she didn't answer the call. So Allison then texted her again at 9:38 a.m. and said, "Call me when you can." Allison continued to call Laken because it wasn't unusual for them to chat while Laken was on her run, but today Laken did not pick up any of her calls. So at 9:58 a.m., Allison texted her daughter, "You're making me nervous not answering when you're out running. Are you okay?" After this, both her mother and her sister Lauren called Laken, but she didn't pick up any of these calls. And then at 11:47 a.m., her mother texted, "Please call me. I'm worried sick about you." Laken's stepfather, John, then tried to call her, but again, all of these calls went unanswered. Back at home at about 9:30 a.m., her roommate Lily went downstairs to see if Laken wanted to grab a coffee with her, but she didn't see Laken sitting at the dining table in the kitchen, so she checked the Find My Friends app and noticed Laken's initials, LR, was running on her usual trail. So Lily went out, she ran her errands, and then came back home at around 10:30 a.m. Since Laken wasn't home yet, she assumed she was still out running. At around 10:45 a.m., she checked the Find My Friends app again and noticed Laken's location was still in the same spot as it was at 9:30 a.m. So this worried her a little, so she texted Laken, checking in on her. Then she sent a group message to all the roommates saying, "Laken's been in the woods a little while," but Laken didn't respond to any of these texts. But Lily didn't think too much of it. She assumed she was either running or on the phone talking, so Lily left the house again and went back to run errands and then returned home at 11:30 a.m. When Lily returned home, she saw Sophia standing outside the home with her dog, Champ, and she immediately asked Lily if they could go look for Laken. At this point, Laken's sister Lauren had already contacted Sophia asking her to go out and please search for Laken. This was way past the amount of time Laken usually took for her runs, and they just didn't feel right. Sophia was more familiar with the trail, so she led Lily along the route that Laken usually ran. Together with the Find My Friends app, they were searching for Laken. As they were walking the trail, Champ was sniffing around and stopped at one particular spot. Sophia looked down and saw something. Her heart stopped for a second because she noticed it was an AirPod. It was also right around the area where Laken's phone was pinging on the Find My Friends app. They immediately assumed it was Laken's AirPod, particularly because Sophia knew that Laken's AirPods usually had more wax on them, and this looked the same. Sophia picked up the AirPod and kept it with her. But the girls didn't find Laken, so they walked back home and at 12:05 p.m. called the UGA Police Department and reported Laken missing. After this, Lily went to meet the police at the trail to look for Laken, while Sophia went to pick up Connolly from class and let her know what was going on. Lily was helping the police, showing them the Find My Friends app where Laken's last known location was, as well as the lost AirPod that may have been Laken's. She also showed police the ring footage from their house showing Laken leaving that morning for her run earlier at 9:03 a.m. and she was dressed in a black jacket, black leggings, and white sneakers with her hair in a ponytail as she left. The UGA police pretty much immediately went along the trail and around the last known location of Laken's phone ping. Just 20 minutes later at 12:38 p.m., Sergeant Kenneth Maxwell discovered what appeared to be a female laying partially nude off the trail under a large tree covered by brush and leaves. It was Laken. Sergeant Maxwell immediately began CPR. She wasn't breathing and he knew she was already gone, but he tried over and over again to revive her. Crime scene specialist Daniela Stewart soon arrived on the scene. She described the injuries on Laken's body. She had blows to the left side of her head, marks on her torso, and one wider mark just below her underwear. Her hair was very tangled with leaves, dirt, and blood, which made it difficult to locate the other injuries on her head. There was also a large, almost bald spot in the leaves on the ground, which indicated that a significant disturbance happened in the area. It led from the running trail to the area where Laken was found. Her running tights were pulled down and her jacket, top, and sports bra were pulled up over her breasts, indicating her attacker attempted to remove her top or she was dragged using her clothes off to the side of the trail. Laken's phone was also found off to the side of the trail, hidden in the leaves. There was blood on her phone and a fingerprint in the area where you would normally swipe to unlock, so at the bottom of the phone. A white coffee cup was also found close to the scene of the crime, which was tested and found to contain alcohol. The physical evidence suggested that Laken fought a long struggle with her attacker. Dr. Michelle DeMarco conducted Laken's autopsy and found she had sustained significant blunt force trauma to her head, including 8 injuries to the left side of her skull and an injury just above her right temple. One of the injuries was significant enough that it caused brain bleeding, and it could have been fatal. There was also evidence of asphyxiation, but Dr. Michelle was unable to determine how that occurred. I'm guessing she wasn't sure if it was through the use of hands or an elbow or an object. Her cause of death was determined to be the combined effects of blunt force head trauma and asphyxia. The suspect's DNA was found under Laken's right fingernails, and a thumbprint was found on Laken's iPhone believed to belong to the suspect. Data from Laken's iPhone and Garmin smartwatch, which she was actually just gifted that Christmas 2 months prior, were able to give police an idea of the timeline. The Garmin smartwatch was able to pick up Laken's heart rate and location, so she leaves her home at 9:03 a.m. and begins her run. Just 7 minutes later, her Garmin watch shows that at 9:10 a.m., something happened to make Laken stop dead in her tracks. Then at 9:11 a.m., Laken used her iPhone's SOS function and made an emergency phone call to 911. The call is just a minute long, and dispatchers attempted to speak to Laken, but there was no response. You just hear the wind and the birds chirping, some muffled sounds, and then thumps at the end of the call.
Hello, this is Clark County 911. Hello, Clark County 911. Can anyone hear me? Clark County 911.
Yo Tango.
Honestly, this call alone just sends shivers down my spine because you can hear whispers. It's really hard to hear, but it does sound like choked whispers. Perhaps her attacker at this point was already restricting her breathing, but the thumps at the end, it might have been her attacker hitting her with an object. Laken's watch shows her on this trail for about 4 minutes during this period, and then you see her move 65 feet into the woods. At 9:28 a.m., there's no more movement from her smartwatch, and her heart has now stopped. Laken fought her attacker for 17 minutes before she died. Laken's family was devastated. Her mother and sister Lauren are seen on police body cam, and they're just completely breaking down, and it's soul crushing. It's soul crushing to see. Police believed that this was a crime of opportunity and the killer acted alone. The entire campus was in shock. There hadn't been a murder on campus since 1983. Police immediately began searching the area, spoke to people in the area, and searched garbage bins in the area. There were many residential buildings in the area, and due to that, there were many bins. In a blue recycling bin near a block of apartments called the Cielo Azulike Complex, which was near the trail that Laken ran, police found a dark colored jacket that was laying on top of the rubbish inside the bin.
tear on the buttons, ripped up sleeves.
The buttons on the jacket had dark brown hair entangled in them, with signs showing that the hair was torn directly from the scalp. There was also a significant amount of blood on the jacket. In the hours following Lakin's murder, police began looking through CCTV camera footage in the area and almost immediately identified a potential suspect. Thankfully, a home had a Ring doorbell that faced this blue recycling bin directly, like front on. At 9:44 a.m., 16 minutes after Lakin's heart stopped, a man was seen walking towards the blue bin wearing a black shirt, black pants, and holding a black Adidas hat and jacket. He examines the hat for a few seconds before putting it back on his head. He then takes the dark jacket and throws it into the blue bin. He paused in the bushes located next to the buildings further down, and then he threw something in there. Police would search that area, the bushes, and recover 3 disposable gloves. One had a tear on the thumb. Lakin's blood was found on these black gloves. The probability of it not being her blood is 1 in 500, are you ready? Octillion. Further CCTV footage from a bus stop located on the trail that Lakin ran showed the same man on the morning of Lakin's murder, this time wearing a navy blue jacket, black pants, a gray sling bag, and dark slides, standing at the bus stop at 6:52 a.m. He was holding a white coffee cup and had come from the Cielo Azulite apartment building, which was close to the trail Lakin ran, and the same area where the bloody jacket was found in the bin. The man is just standing at this bus stop, almost looking like he's looking for something to do. Then CCTV cameras at another UGA apartment complex then pick up this guy just 7 minutes later at 7 a.m. He walks up to a student's door at the building and attempts to open the door. He then goes around to the back of the building and then peeps into the window of the same apartment. The female student inside was taking a shower with her blinds open and hadn't noticed anyone trying to get in at first. He tries for several minutes to get into the front door again before leaving. He then returns 56 minutes later and comes back to her front door 5 times to try and open the door. The female student inside finally noticed this and calls out when she saw a figure at her window. The figure then ducked down and all she could see was a black hat. She then called police at 7:57 a.m. The man realized this and then fled. Another Ring doorbell from the same Cielo Azulite complex captured this same man coming out from an apartment at 10:21 a.m. the next morning, this time wearing a red top and shorts. He's holding a plastic bag with clothes inside and walks over to another dumpster, and when he returns, he is no longer holding the bag. The police searched this bin, but the items inside were collected that morning. Another student runner who was on the trail that same morning came forward to the police and told them about a suspicious man she had seen standing next to the lake while she ran. She felt this man was just really sus, as he was just standing there, still just staring at his phone. He was wearing the same clothes as the man at the bus stop. Police then issued a bolo of the man, notifying UGA students to look out for this suspect. Tips then started flooding in about a man that fit this description, a man that lived at the Cielo Azulite complex. The fact that this man lived in the area and the fact that tips came in that the man wasn't the most well-behaved guy, police decided to go and have a little chat with him. His name was Jose Ibarra, and on February 23rd, 2024 at 3 p.m., he was awoken by a knock on the door. There were multiple people living in this apartment, including Jose's 2 brothers, Argenis and Diego, but no one spoke fluent English, so once the police were able to get an officer that spoke Spanish, they could finally question Jose. The officers began questioning Jose, Diego, Argenis, and another friend, Rose Bello. As officers were questioning Jose, they noticed several injuries to Jose's exposed skin. A scratch on his left forearm, a puncture on his left wrist, bruising on his palm, and his neck. The scratches looked like they had come from fingernails and his knuckles were red. When he was questioned about the scratches, Jose just shrugged it off and said, "Oh, it's just a scratch." When asked why his knuckles were red, he said, "Oh, it's because it's cold." They then looked over at his brother Diego, and Diego was wearing the same black Adidas hat seen on the CCTV footage. When they searched Jose's phone, they found photos of Jose wearing the same outfit and black Adidas hat in a Snapchat selfie he posted earlier that morning. It was also discovered that Diego Ibarra was in possession of a fraudulent green card. Jose was detained following the questioning and arrested later that day on murder charges. Jose is a 26-year-old Venezuelan migrant and, according to ICE records, first entered the US illegally in 2022. On September 8th, 2022, Jose was caught crossing the US's southern border near El Paso, Texas, and was later paroled and released for further processing. He was released with temporary permission to stay in the US to pursue his immigration case. At the time, Border Patrol was releasing migrants with orders to appear at an immigration office, but not even scheduling any court appearances or dates. He actually arrived into the US with his wife, Layling Franco. They were then put on a bus and sent to the Crown Plaza Hotel migrant shelter in New York. For a few weeks, they lived there, and then they lived in a car parked on the street by the hotel. A week after arriving in New York, he was arrested by the New York Police Department on September 14th, 2022, and was charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17 and a motor vehicle license violation. So from what I've read, I believe he was riding a scooter without a license with a child who was not wearing a helmet. He was then again released before a detainer could be issued, but the New York department later claimed that no record of this was ever on file, so we don't know if this is accurate or not. His brother Diego was living in Athens, Georgia at this time, and he would constantly call Jose and tell him to come to Athens because they could find jobs there. Through a process known as re-ticketing, the city has paid for the travel of tens of thousands of migrants who wish to move elsewhere in the US. So on September 28th, 2023, Jose and Layling were then given plane tickets to Atlanta, Georgia, and they then moved in to the Cielo As You Like apartment complex in Athens with his brother Diego. In October 2023, Jose and his brother Diego, who at the time were reported to be in a Venezuelan gang, were arrested by Athens police on theft charges for reportedly possessing stolen merchandise from a local Walmart, but were later released. Jose and even his brothers allegedly were just not good guys. On November 15th, 2024, Jose waived his right to a jury trial and opted for a bench trial. So the difference between the two is that instead of a jury of 12 peers deciding the facts of the case and a judge, overseeing the process and ruling on legal matters, a bench trial involves a judge alone deciding on the facts and applying the law. I also think the reason for Jose's lawyers choosing a bench trial is because Jose wasn't the best character and a jury would definitely not benefit him. Jose was slapped with a 10-count indictment, including 1 count of malice murder, 3 counts of felony murder, 1 count of kidnapping with bodily injury, 1 count of aggravated assault with the intent to rape, 1 count of aggravated battery, obstructing an emergency call, evidence tampering, and being a peeping Tom. The peeping Tom charge was in relation to that other female student he tried gaining access to inside her apartment. An analysis of Jose's cell phone data shows his phone was in the same area as Laken the morning she was killed. His Samsung phone and Laken's Garmin watch location overlapped and were in close proximity in the forest where she was found dead between 9:10 and 9:32 a.m. on February 22nd, 2024. Laken and Jose's digital location were also very close between 9:10 a.m. and 9:12 a.m. The same exact time Laken made that SOS call to 911. Jose's phone also pinged near the apartment building where the female student called 911 around the time of the Peeping Tom incident. Jose's phone also could have been near the dumpster where the jacket was discarded at the same time he was seen on the surveillance footage. Prosecutors put forth that although Jose did not know Lakin, he was out on the morning of February 22nd, 2024, hunting for females. This is supported by him standing at the lake early that morning, just waiting, then proceeding to attempt to break into a female student's home, and then finally, his encounter with Lakin. Lakin was just out for her regular morning jog around the trail that she frequented so often. When Jose caught sight of Lakin, he approached her. We don't know exactly what happened during the moment the two were in close proximity, but whatever it was, scared Lakin enough to make an emergency SOS call. The call is chilling, and it is believed that when she tried to get help, Jose may have strangled her. Those are possibly the muffled sounds we hear on the call before then attacking her. During the struggle, he must have grabbed Lakin's phone and left that thumbprint on the screen, which matched Jose's fingerprint, by the way. When Lakin refused to be his rape victim, Jose bashed her skull in with a rock repeatedly, seriously disfiguring her. He then dragged her off the trail into the woods. Evidence shows that Lakin fought for her life, for her dignity. For over 17 minutes, she scratched at his hands, his arms, his neck, trying to escape. Jose's DNA was recovered from underneath Lakin's fingernails, and his DNA also matched to that white coffee cup found in the same location. It is believed he then attempted to pull her clothes over her neck, her running tights down before attempting to assault her. However, evidence of any confirmed SA was not found. Perhaps Lakin kept fighting, making it hard for him to continue the assault. He then strangled her, and as evidence suggests, Lakin then died from the head injury and asphyxiation. Jose's defense team argued that the evidence presented against him was purely circumstantial. They argued that the links connecting Jose to the alleged crime are insufficient and that there isn't enough evidence to prove Jose's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. They tried to say that the man on CCTV footage was actually his brother Diego. How did they know for sure it was Jose? They tried to say that other people, including Diego, used Jose's phone in the days leading up to the murder. However, Diego was found to be working at the UGA dining hall on the morning of the murder. And I mean, duh, the DNA evidence, just that one piece, his DNA under her fingernails. Like, where did that come from? The leaves and the grass? No, it was clear who was responsible. I always find it wild when they try to argue DNA evidence. It's crazy. Also, his own roommate, Rosbelli, identified Jose as being the man on the CCTV footage. I believe even his brother Diego admitted it was Jose. Prosecutors also played a recording of a phone call between Jose and his wife Leiling while he was in jail. In the call, Leiling asks Jose, "What happened to the girl?" And Jose responds, "Enough, enough." She then says, "It's crazy that they don't have anyone else's DNA on the girl." Jose then denied knowing anything about the murder before Leiling responded, "No, no, 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 no. You're not going to come here and lie to me. I know you, you know something." Lakin's three roommates, Lily, Connolly, and Sophia, all took the stand and explained exactly what happened that morning. Sergeant Maxwell testified, tearing up when he was describing the horrific moments when he discovered Lakin's body in the woods. The entire trial, as you can imagine, was extremely heavy. The information, the evidence presented, I mean, it would be difficult for anyone to hear, but Lakin's mom in particular had to leave the courtroom several times. Being shown the photos, the injuries, is just so cruel. Her family had to relive every single moment of Lakin's murder, but it was necessary to bring her justice. Thankfully, and whatever consolation this may be, the trial only lasted 4 days. Jose showed no emotion during the trial, just blank-faced, almost unbothered, as an interpreter relayed the information to him in Spanish. Prosecutors put forth all the evidence, the video evidence, the physical evidence, the DNA, his own family identifying him, the selfies of him wearing the same outfit in the footage, the actions of Jose before Lakin's attack. It was clear to them that on that morning, Jose was looking for a female victim, that he tried unsuccessfully to get access to other women before finally attacking Laken, that when she refused to become his rape victim, he killed her. Laken's friends and family all spoke during the sentencing phase, talking about Laken being a very special person. She was the best friend and a role model to her siblings. She was the best person with the kindest heart, with a great future ahead, and that Jose took it all away and ruined all of their lives. Her mother, Allison, said, "There is no end to the pain, suffering, and loss that we have experienced or will continue to endure." She wants to remember that Laken was a smart, hardworking, kind, thoughtful girl, and most importantly, she was a child of God. Her sister Lauren said, "Laken brought the joy that I needed into my life and never failed to make me laugh. Seeing my parents' heartbreak is excruciating, and I will never get closure over my sister's murder." Her father, Jason Riley, said he is haunted by the fear his daughter must have felt in her final moments. He said, "I have to live with the fact that I could not protect her when she needed me the most." Laken's stepfather, John Phillips, said she was the best daughter, sister, granddaughter, friend, and overall person that you could ever hope to meet. Laken's roommate, Connolly, said, "I live with excruciating guilt every day that I was not accompanying Laken on this run and that it was her and not me." Lily said life has been dull without Laken. Sophia called Laken her chosen family and fearless other half, and she said that her heart is full of grief, sadness, and an overwhelming sense of loss. Judge Haggard took a 20-minute break before finding Jose guilty on all 10 counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without a possibility of parole. The fact that the prosecution did not seek the death penalty in the case was not looked upon favorably by many, but Laken now lives on in her family and friends' memories as a kind-hearted, overall extraordinary person with an infectious smile and a passion for helping others. Laken's funeral was held on March 1st, 2024 at the Woodstock City Church. Since Laken's murder, multiple bills have been proposed and signed regarding immigration, sanctuary policies, and border reform. The Laken-Riley Act, which proposes to detain any migrants who have been charged with burglary or theft, passed in the U.S. House in March 2024, but was blocked in the Senate. But on 29th January 2025, President Trump signed his first piece of legislation into law, being the Laken-Riley Act. The University of Georgia made multiple changes to the campus following Laken's murder. They invested over $7 million installing 23 emergency call boxes with security cameras, 3,000 feet of fencing along Millage Avenue near Jose's apartment, 12 safety ambassadors working 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., increased campus police force by 21%. They added more license plate readers throughout the campus and also improved dimly lit areas. I mean, at least they are trying to make a difference and improve safety for students at the campus. The case became a rallying cry for President Trump and other Republicans who wanted to frame Laken's killing as a result of former President Biden's failure to secure the nation's borders. There was also an embarrassing incident on Biden's part where he was asked to say Laken's name during the State of Union, and he held up a pin with her full name on it, and he said, "Lincoln Riley, how many people's kids are being killed by illegals?" He then later apologized, saying he should have said undocumented instead of illegals.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand.
2 days after the State of Union, Trump held a rally in Rome where he met with Laken's family, and many attendees held signs with Laken's picture on it reading, "Say her name." During a speech, Trump claimed that Jose would have never been in the country under his policies. Obviously, this turned into a big political issue at the time, given it was also the year of Biden versus Trump before Trump was elected president again. But many believe that Laken's death, together with the death of many others, are a combination of failure at a local level and failure at a federal level. I can't, really get too much into it because I don't live in the US, and I already had this discussion with my cousin from the US, but my family are migrants to this country. We entered legally, of course, and have always abided by the laws of the country we chose to make our home. And I know many people who are the same. So it's dangerous to spew immigrant hate, whether they entered legally or illegally, and we don't know. And many people have just been attacked purely based on the color of their skin. The blame needs to go on the individual, Jose Ibarra, and not an entire group of people. And I know it's easier said than done, but Laken's family does not want her case to be used as a political talking point, and her death should not be exploited for political gain, especially. But obviously there is a problem, and it's not just in the US, and I don't want to get too much into it because I'm not hugely educated on the topic. But what we can take away from this case is thinking about our safety more, male or female. We should be able to do something as simple as go for a run. But unfortunately, times have just changed. If you're a runner, run with someone else. Always let someone know where you're going. Change up your route. Carry an alarm or pepper spray if you're allowed. But in Australia, we're not allowed to. So some type of loud alarm that would draw attention to you in case of an attack. Run or walk somewhere where many people would be. And most of all, trust your instincts, guys. It's usually right. Honestly, Jay does not like me going anywhere by myself. Especially with the kids, he's kind of like, you just never know what's going to happen. And that's not realistic. I have to do things by myself sometimes, right? But things are just getting so bad in the world, I mean, there's many of this happening, but legit, there was an attack at 11 a.m. at a car wash in a shopping center that is always filled with people. A man attacked a woman with a machete to try and steal her car at 11 a.m. while she was washing her car. I mean, I just don't get the thought of these people. You can't be that desperate, especially in Australia. We have so many resources here, and I know in the US it's a bit different, but over here, this should not be happening. We are very lucky to have free healthcare and a lot of help here. So it's just wild that these things are happening, and it's always young kids. I mean, not always, but you know what I mean. Majority of the time lately, it's been a lot of young kids in Australia, and it's becoming crazy. Please, guys, these cases are not to scare you, but to make you aware. Laken's case hit me really hard. She was so young and seemed like an amazing woman. I know there are a few other cases like this too, so if you have any other suggestions, let me know down below in the comments. Rest in peace, Laken, and I hope her family can somewhat recover from this tragedy and live on in the good memories and changes Laken's life is making in this world. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys, and I'll see you in the comments and in next week's video. Besitos. Bye. Be safe.